And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it.
Canada is stuck on Alcatraz, and there's no way off. The entire country is erupting like a super volcano. Canada is ready to blow. The Liberals have labeled the Air Canada attendance strike illegal. You're not allowed to strike. And CUPE president came out and said, you know what, Liberals? I'm willing to go to jail for this strike. He really doesn't care what the Liberals have to say, and he's standing up for the rights of the workers, the right to strike. The most powerful leaders in the entire world went to Washington, D.C. to meet with Donald Trump to end the 3.5-year war with Ukraine, the most significant event since World War II. This is massive. And the wildest part is Mark Carney was not invited. Can you believe it? We have paid. We're one of the top 10 that contributed to this war, and we're not even invited to the table. That's not even the wildest part. The wildest part was mainstream media in Canada told not to cover the story that Mark Carney was in fact not invited because their radio silence on the matter is deafening. What do we get instead of Mark Carney going all the way to Washington? We got a photo op with Doug Ford. And they're sitting there smiling, saying Canada is the most united it's ever been in Canadian history. And it's all a distraction because Mark Carney has not spoken to Donald Trump since June 26. Why is this date significant? Because it's the day that Donald Trump told Canada that he will no longer negotiate with Canada altogether. And it was all over the simplest thing. A digital sales tax, which Biden and Trump and everybody in the US said this is a no-go, so it should have been an easy removal. But Mark Carney waited to the very last second to remove it, just to piss off Donald Trump. And he has not spoken to Donald Trump ever since. This has become a complete disaster. And what has Mark Carney done ever since he hasn't spoken to Donald Trump? He's gone on 2 vacations. One was 2 weeks, and the other was a week. He just got back today. Oh, and let's not forget his wonderful Pride Parade in Vancouver, where he embarrassed himself in front of the entire world. And let's not forget, just a few days ago, Mark Carney had the Canadian flag removed from his office, the PBO office, and replaced with a pride flag outside of June. We are in August. Because there's no place for the Canada flag in Canada anymore. Canada is rapidly entering a new phase for the country, the laughingstock of the world. Even the tourists that dare to come here will not even be able to come because there are 500,000 Canadians that are stranded abroad and can't come back home. They're trying to book flights with other airlines. So the tourists, oh, this is going to be one of the worst tourist summers in Canadian history. And this is a time where we need these tourists to come to Canada. So we are also in a recession with the lack of tourism and everything that's happening in this country. Things are rapidly imploding. This is going to be an explosive report. Let's get into the show.
There's no limit. We're going to stay strong. We're going to stay committed to making sure that those workers can do the job that they love doing and actually be able to afford a roof over their heads, to afford caring for their families. And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it. We're looking for a solution here. Our members want a solution here, but that solution has to be found at a bargaining table.
I'm actually fearful for this man because if you go against the Liberal government, they will throw you in jail. But if you commit other crimes, oh, that's fine. But if you go against them, oh yeah, let's see this again. What did he do to go against the Liberals to possibly go to jail?
This is the CIRB order. to say, stand down. I'm expected to direct you to go back to work. I'm expected to end this strike.
That might have been a big mistake. And you're not going to believe this next item. This is huge. The Air Canada CEO leaked live on TV. He admitted, it's unbelievable, that he had no plan except for his secret backroom deal with Mark Carney to bust the strike and get the workers back to work using Section 107. He and Mark Carney assumed that workers would just roll over and work for free. They assumed wrong.
As soon as the strike happened.
But you didn't make any provisions before to ensure that passengers, or at least some of them, would get to where they're going?
Well, we thought, obviously, the Section 107 would be enforced and that they wouldn't illegally avoid the Section 107.
Right, so you made no provision because you didn't realize the union would do this.
They gave us no indication they would do this.
Right.
As soon as the strike happened.
Holy crap. They thought they would just walk right back to work and everything would go back to normal. Well, it looks like the CUPE president wants to go to jail, and the workers, they're not going back to work. 500,000 passengers are now stranded. And tourism in Canada, it's gone extinct. And where is Mark Carney in this catastrophic events that are occurring in Canada? Watch him come back from vacation and deliver his speech of confidence.
Can we get an update on how trade talks are going? How are they going?
Good morning. Bonjour.
How are trade talks going?
Look, well, actually, I'm just going to meet with Minister LeBlanc. We'll have a discussion of that. And
Oh, what? So you're telling me while you're on vacation, you didn't speak to your top negotiator, Justin Trudeau's babysitter? That is rich.
important discussion with
Oh, he just touched his nose. He is definitely lying.
Premier Ford this morning on a variety of aspects for the Ontario economy, the Canadian economy, which of course includes trade, but goes much more to the issues that we can control and how we build out from within.
Like what?
Yeah, the reason he says what we can control, because what we can't control is we are no longer talking to the United States for trade. It is catastrophic.
What would some examples be?
Well, we'll talk about the housing sector. We'll talk about steel, auto, new sectors of the economy.
Oh, by the way, the housing sector, we're down. We're down significantly. We're not even going to build 250,000 homes this year, 240,000 homes next year. And the year after that is 235,000 homes. How do I know this? CMHC came out and said there's no chance in hell that this Liberal government is going to deliver any of the homes that they're promising.
Including artificial intelligence, what we're doing in terms of making Canada competitive.
What's your advice to President Zelensky regarding should he accept any deal?
I gave that advice yesterday in a meeting with President Zelensky and the coalition.
And what was it? What was it?
Yeah, by the way, they should have asked, why are you not in Washington, D.C. today? Our media is so biased and so bad. It's almost as if they were given the questions and he still is terrible at responding.
Canada, sir, anything to say to Air Canada union workers?
I'll say the following. We recognize very much the critical role that flight attendants play in keeping Canadians and their families safe.
What? It sounds like he's talking about the Canadian military. But wait, he's going to correct himself.
As they travel, comfortable as they travel.
Comfortable. He meant to say keeping our families comfortable because they are not keeping anyone safe. The pilots are the one that's keeping everyone safe, not the flight attendants.
And it's important that they're compensated equitably at all times, fairly at all times. That's the reason why there have been negotiations over the course of the last 8 months. It is disappointing that those negotiations did not come to an agreement, and it was the judgment of both the union and the company that they were at an impasse. That's not my judgment, it's their judgment. And so we are in a situation where literally hundreds of thousands of Canadians and visitors to our country are being disrupted by this action. I urge both parties to resolve this as quickly as possible, and the Minister will have more to say. Minister Haidoo will have more to say later.
Did the government make a mistake imposing binding arbitration on the weekend?
Was it a mistake? I'm going to tell you guys something. The reason that we have all these strikes, so the ports, the trains, the mail service, now Air Canada, the reason that we're having the strikes is because of the Liberals. They caused the worst inflation in Canadian history, arguably the worst for sure in the last 40 years. That means Canadians are not making it. They're working 2 jobs and still not making it. 50% of the population is $200 away from insolvency. We are at a breaking point in this country, and it's all because of the Liberal government. And I really hope that the Air Canada workers did not vote for the Liberals, because if they did, they just got served their own medicine. The Liberals are in full damage control. They notice that even the Elbows Up crew is furious about the Air Canada strike. Unfortunately, the damage is already done. Nothing you could do. Check out Patty Haidoo trying to fix things.
On the weekend, I referred the Air Canada dispute to the Relations Board. Both parties, the union and the corporation, said they were at an impasse. But it's not too late to get a deal. In fact, the corporation and the union could sit down today and find a path forward together, and that will result in the best deal. I've also heard the allegations of unpaid work. It's unacceptable. Nobody should work for free in this country. In fact, we expect to get paid for the work that we perform. And that's why I've ordered a probe into the allegation of unpaid work in the airline sector. We will start this probe immediately, and if employers are exploiting loopholes in the Canada Labour Code, we'll close them. Nobody should be expected to work for free.
Patty says that they just found out about unpaid labor from the flight attendants. Well, unfortunately, there's something called the internet. And we have Bill C-409, which shows an act to amend the Canadian Labour Code, hours of work of flight attendants. Fairness for Flight Attendants Act. They've already looked at it in June 19th of 2024. That's a year ago. It's been a problem for a long time, and they're surprised about them not being paid. No, they've been looking at it for some time. Don Davies with the NDP, he smells blood on the streets. The Liberals are collapsing over the Air Canada strike, so he comes in and says this is a great opportunity to scoop up some votes. Principles? Nope. Just some political scavenging. Check out what he says.
Customer service agents, like around you, everybody gave concessions to this company when they needed it. You signed 10-year collective agreements, unheard of in the industry. You rolled back your wages. You took all sorts of working condition concessions, and you did it to help the company. Now, where are we today? This company is making billions of dollars. Their executives are making millions of dollars, and they are sitting here wanting you to work for free. Let me tell you, sisters and brothers, slavery is illegal in this country.
And the crowd goes wild. Now let's hear from Doug Ford. He believes that Mark Carney is doing an incredible job.
Was your sense from the Prime Minister now that Canada just has to accept that we're going to have tariffs from the United States until we renegotiate USMCA? Like, is there any movement on getting those removed?
Well, I won't speak for the Prime Minister. What I can tell you, we're united on the message of let's start worrying about how we can be competitive here. Donald Trump is so unpredictable. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing tomorrow morning. So let's start focusing on creating that environment.
But is there an
to attract
acceptance?
companies.
Is there an acceptance, I guess, from leaders that we'll just have the tariffs?
Again, the Prime Minister will speak on that, but the President is unpredictable. He'll come out with some cockamamie thing tomorrow that we don't even know about.
So
right?
do you think that Mark Carney is being too elbows down in response to that unpredictability?
Not at all. He's doing an incredible job. He's working collaboratively with 12 other premiers and myself, and working as Team Canada. And he's doing a very, very good job, in my opinion. Put in his position, dealing with Donald Trump. Let's stop worrying about Donald Trump. We'll start focusing on Ontario and Canada and all the other provinces.
I have to stop. What has Mark Carney done since he became Prime Minister? Tell me, Doug. He says he's doing an amazing job, but what has he done except for gone on holidays and getting 35% tariffs and not speaking to Donald Trump for 2 full months? And now he hasn't been invited to the White House to talk with all the other world leaders. That is a perfect time for us to check out what happened with the world leaders. And I just want to show you, while the world leaders are getting together in the White House Oval Office, Mark Carney decided to hold a press conference and talked about absolutely nothing with Doug Ford, trying to make it look like he's busy.
We had a lot done since we saw each other last time. And I'm going to take this opportunity to congratulate you again on your leadership, obviously, of this province, but also of the Council of the Federation at a critical time for the country. The work.
So basically, they're just standing there getting photos, making it look like they're actually talking about something. Here is Zelensky showing up to the Oval Office.
The best I had. Ready, face. Step.
Can you believe it?
We love them.
He's actually wearing a suit. He forgot his tie, but he is actually wearing a suit. Not like the last time he went to the Oval Office and he was ridiculed for wearing his black t-shirt. Now check this out. The same reporter that's made fun of Zelensky about his suit said, "You look fabulous in your suit today." And Zelensky says, "You have the same old suit that you had last time." It was actually quite funny. Get this, the second question that was asked. There are a lot of liberals out there that their heads are literally exploding because of what Donald Trump said next. The question was, if the war ends, will there be an election right away? And Zelensky says yes, but as long as there's a war happening, Parliament's going to be closed. There's not going to be an election. Then Donald Trump, check out what he says next.
No. Speaking of news, I got a question for you.
Did you see that? Donald Trump says, so you're telling me in 3.5 years, all I have to do is start a war and then there will be 0 elections. We all know he's joking, but you could already tell that the liberals all across America and Canada just went boom. Mark Carney claims that we're part of the coalition of the willing, which is everybody in this picture here. What is actually incredible is Canada has put towards Ukraine $20 billion Canadian or 14 billion American, and we don't even get a seat in this table. To me, that shows that Canada is truly irrelevant on the world stage. And one part really stood out to me is when Donald Trump, and this was not part of the meeting, went nuclear on the mail-in ballots and electronic voting machines because he calls it the most corrupt system in the world, and he's vowing to get rid of it altogether. He believes that people voted 5 times through mail-in ballots, and they're still counting after 2 weeks after an election with those electronic machines. They could be counted the same day as the election when they're actually written on a piece of paper. Listen up, Canada, because we have had provincial elections like in BC with mail-in ballots getting lost. And the voting, we were counting like 3 weeks after the election.
Go first. You pushed out on social media about doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you expand on that and how important
Well, that's a very off topic, just really quickly. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want changed are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results that night. Most people, but most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure form. So between paper ballots, very, very important, paper ballots, and I think maybe even more important, the mail-in voting. We're going to end mail-in voting. It's a fraud. If you have mail-in vote, even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up. He said the one thing about mail-in voting, you will never have an honest election if you have mail-in. And it's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it, because the Democrats want it. It's the only way they can get elected. Because with men and women's sports and with transgender for everybody and open borders and all of the horrible things, and now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington, D.C. safe. We're not going to get mugged, beaten up, or killed like all the people you've been watching get so badly hurt. I'm glad, I hate to take your time in this, but I'm glad you asked me that question. Sorry. We're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt. You know, when you go to a voting booth and you do it the right way and you go to a state that runs it properly, you go in, they even ask me, they asked me for my license plate, for identity. I said, I don't know if I have it. They said, sir, you have to have it. I was very impressed, actually. But it's very hard to cheat with mail-in voting. As you know what happens in California, it's so corrupt, where some people get 5, 6, 7 ballots delivered to them. Now, we got to stop mail-in voting, and the Republicans have to lead the charge. The Democrats want it because they have horrible policy. If you have mail-in voting, you're not going to have many Democrats get elected. That's bigger than anything having to do with redistricting, believe me. And the Republicans have to get smart. We're not going to have a country. I said for a long time at rallies, you need borders and you need free and fair elections. Those two things, otherwise you don't have. We have strong borders now. In 90 days, Mr. President, we didn't have 0 in 3 months. Not one person came in illegally into our country. In fact, even I find that hard to believe, but it's run by a little bit of a liberal group that put out the numbers, so I guess it's, but 0, 0, and 0. You go back a year ago, 2 years ago, 3, millions of people poured into our country. It was terrible. Thank you very much.
I don't know about you, Canada, but it sounds like a good idea. We should go back to just the paper. No more machines. When I put my ballot inside the electronic machine, it didn't even make a sound. There was no light. And the person's like, okay, sir, your vote was just counted. I'm like, what? How do you know? He's like, I just know. Trust the machine. Trust the system. Watch Emmanuel Macron say that everyone around the table just wants peace. This is a very different messaging than we saw just like a month ago.
I just have to say here, everybody around this table is in favor of peace. And we work very hard, and we've worked very hard during the past few years to have a peace which is a robust and long-standing peace. This is why the idea of a trilateral meeting is very important, because this is the only way to fix it.
Wow. All I have to say, if Donald Trump actually gets a deal and peace, this is incredible. Watch Giorgia Meloni, Italian's prime minister. If she was playing poker, she would definitely lose. When she hears the German Chancellor Merz try to tell US President Donald Trump he's looking for at least a ceasefire, not a full peace deal. Just give us a ceasefire. Donald Trump does not want a ceasefire. He just wants the straight up peace.
Let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia, because the credibility of these efforts we are undertaking today are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on. So I would like to emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next meeting, which should be a trilateral meeting wherever it takes place.
Well, we're going to let the president go over and talk to the president.
She does not look too impressed because she already knows a ceasefire is not why they're there. This is the most embarrassing part for Canada of the entire conference with the world leaders. Donald Trump calls them out by name one by one and praises them. Let's take a look. Mark Carney was not praised.
President Putin today, we're going to call President Putin right after this meeting. I'm sure we're going to have a solid meeting, good meeting, maybe a great meeting, and we're going to try and work out a trilat after that and see if we can get it finished, put this to sleep, because this is not since the Second World War has there been anything like this. So I'm honored to welcome NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who's a great gentleman, great political leader in Europe generally, but now he's the NATO Secretary General, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Mark. Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom, our friend and my friend, and doing really well. And people like him a lot. We all like him. Everyone knows President Macron of France, who's been with me from the beginning, one of the first people I met as a foreign dignitary, and I liked him from day one. And I like him even more now. That's pretty good. That's unusual. That's a pretty unusual thing. Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, who's a really great leader and an inspiration over there. She's served now, even though she's a very young person, she's served there for a long period of time relative to others. They don't last very long. You've lasted a long time. You're going to be there a long time. Chancellor Merz of Germany, who is a very strong person and a very strong leader and very highly respected in Germany. And he's my friend, and it's an honor to have him as my friend. Thank you very much. Very good. You look great with your tan. Where did you get that tan? I want to get a tan like that. President Stubb of Finland, and he's somebody that, where are we here? Huh? Where? Oh. You look better than I've ever seen you look. But you've done a great job, and we wanted to have you here because you're somebody that we all respect. And you've had a lot to do with the success, I think, and the potential success. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. All these thanks and so great and the best. We're all best friends. And Finland, just so everybody knows, Finland has only provided 3.5 or $4 billion. And Canada has provided 14 billion US. It's incredible. And he's cheering Finland.
And the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who is somebody that we just made a big deal with all of those countries. I don't know. I think you might be more powerful than all these guys at this table. I don't know. But we had a great negotiation, and you're respected all over the world. So I want to thank you very much for being here. It's a great honor to have you.
Can you believe it? He thanked all of these world leaders and talked them up. And there was an empty chair, and that empty chair was Canada's chair. This is a complete embarrassment to the Liberal Party. Mark Carney was supposed to be the Trump whisperer, the guy that can negotiate with Donald Trump, the best friends, and make it so that we have a wonderful trading relationship. Today, we learned that Canada is not even invited to the U.S. This is the last clip that I have, but it looks like it went well. Let's see what Mark Rutte, the new NATO chief, had to say.
In the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have in the past 3.5 years. And I think the fact that we're around this table today is very much symbolic in the sense that it's Team Europe and Team United States helping Ukraine. And the progress that we're looking out of this meeting is about the security guarantees.
There you go. Europe and the United States, and no Canada. Do we get a refund for all that money that we sent if we're not even invited anymore? Things are not looking good in Canada. Strike after strike, because under the Liberal government, life has become unaffordable in Canada. The Liberals used Section 107 so many times over the last 2 years that unions are now saying, F it. We're no longer going to follow your orders anymore. This has just opened up a dynamite box because it forms a precedent. And now they're going to believe that the next strikes, and guaranteed there's going to be a bunch more strikes, union reps are just going to say, forget your mandates. We're not going to listen to you anymore. Also, I don't think the Liberals are going to put this president, CUPE president, in jail, because it's going to be making them look even worse than they already are. He's fighting for workers that are not getting paid for work. That's like slave labor. If they put him in jail, well, even the elbows up crowd are gonna wake up. Maybe that's what they should do, though. The Liberals should put that man in jail. If that's what it takes to wake up the half of the country, the elbows up crowd, to say, you know what? It's time for change in Canada. We can't keep going down this road. And in just 1 week from now, it will officially be 2 full months that Mark Carney and Donald Trump have spoken. Yes. Can you actually believe it's been that long? And now Donald Trump is not even inviting Mark Carney to the most important meetings ever since World War II. And we are heavily invested in this situation with $14 billion of our tax dollars been sent to Ukraine. We should be at that table, but we are not. It's going to be a wild few days, weeks, and months, and I'm going to capture and cover it all. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next report.